What's up, YouTube? Zero here, and today I have an absolutely amazing deck combined of Mega Absol EX and Darkrai EX in Pokemon TCG Pocket. This is going to be my first of many decks with the new packs that just released, the Mega Rising packs, that of Mega Blaziken, Mega Altaria, and Mega Gyarados. Before I get into it, I do want to say if you do enjoy this video, feel free to give it a thumbs up, hit that subscribe button for more Pokemon TCG content. It does really help out me and my channel. In this video, you're going to see this deck build on the left-hand side of the screen. I'm going to talk about each of these cards individually. Then I'm going to talk about why this deck works so well as a whole and why you should definitely be checking it out. Let's get into this deck build. I'm going to talk about the star of the show, or at least one of the stars of the show, the Mega Absol EX, which was just released in the Mega Rising packs. You can find this card in the Mega Rising Mega Gyarados packs, so be on the lookout for that if you are looking out for this card. Mega Absol EX is going to shine when it's in that active slot and hitting as early and as quickly as possible. There's a reason for that. So Mega Absol EX is just a basic Pokemon, so no evolution required. It has one move for 2 Dark Energy Darkness Claw, hits for 80 damage, and your opponent reveals their hand. You choose a supporter card you find there and discard it. That's where Mega Absol EX is really going to be shining. It doesn't hit for a lot of damage. It's only hitting for 80. It also, Mega Absol EX, only has 170 HP. And when I say only 170, that's important because this is a Mega card. Mega cards, if they get defeated, you lose all 3 points. That means if you lose this card, you lose the match. So that's something to be very leery of, is that if Mega Absol goes down, you're going to lose the match, which is why it's important. Mega Absol in that active slot as quickly as possible, powered up and hitting for 80, and discarding all of the supporter cards that you can from your opponent's hand. That's going to be extremely critical to getting the wins, is getting rid of those supporter cards. Mega Absol EX is not going to hit for a lot of damage, but where it makes up for is getting rid of cards in your opponent's hand. So that's going to be extremely important. That's really going to be your strategy with this deck. Only 2 cards, Mega Absol EX Pokemon cards, Mega Absol EX and Darkrai EX. So you're going to get one of the 2 to start. You're going to have to start hitting right away with one of them. Hopefully it's the Mega Absol EX. But let's talk about the other card, Darkrai EX, which has been in the game for a very long time now. It's a very solid card. It really is a great card. It's been around for forever now. And there are a lot of variations. You can see I have the promo edition here. There's the Darkrai EX, that colorful, that shiny edition that was just released in the Deluxe Pack EX. There are a lot of versions of this card, but they all do the same thing, and it's very powerful. So let's talk about Darkrai EX. First, it does have an ability, Nightmare Aura. Whenever you attach a dark energy from your energy zone to this Pokemon, do 20 damage to your opponent's active Pokemon. So that's going to be nice if your Mega Absol EX is in that active slot already powered up. You can attach dark energy onto your Darkrai EX, dealing an additional 20 damage. I already went over that Mega Absol EX is not dealing a lot of damage, only 80. So the added 20 from Darkrai EX is going to be nice, so you can deal 100 damage each turn and hit your opponent for a little bit more damage, of course, because with the release of those mega packs, those packs that just came out, there are going to be very powerful Pokemon that have over 200 HP. So even if you're hitting for 100, it's going to take you 3 turns to take out some of those Pokemon. So really, you want to hit as early and as hard as often as you can, and get rid of those supporter cards when you can with your Mega Absol. So that's going to be the strategy of this deck, really keeping Mega Absol alive as quickly or as much as possible, because if it goes down, you're going to be losing the match 3 points, and that's not something that you want to do. If you are looking for Darkrai, of course, like I said, there are several packs to do it in. It was released. I have the promo edition and the shiny edition, the very colorful edition that was just released in that Mega EX packs. The other version of this card, the one that you're going to be able to unlock a little bit easier, is going to be found in the Space-Time Smackdown Dialga packs. So be on the lookout in that pack if you are looking for Darkrai EX. Great card, not just for this deck, but really for a lot of decks. So I recommend grinding for Darkrai EX if you don't have it. Really phenomenal card. Next, let's just talk about some of the basic cards that are in a lot of decks. Professor's Research, draw 2 cards. Pokeball, you put a random basic Pokemon from your deck into your hand. So if you start with one of these cards, you start with Mega Absol. That means you only have 3 more basic Pokemon in your deck. You have 1 Mega Absol and 2 Darkrai's, so you'll have a 66% chance of pulling a Darkrai, just as some information with the Pokeball. So the Pokeballs are going to be really efficient as a part of this deck. Another card that I really like in this deck is Dark Pendant. So Dark Pendant is a Pokemon tool. If the dark Pokemon this card is attached to is in the active spot and is damaged by an attack from your opponent's Pokemon, your opponent reveals a random card from their hand and shuffles it into their deck. So this is going to be really nice in combination with Mega Absol EX. So Dark Pendant is going to take a card from your opponent's hand and put it back in their deck. Mega Absol EX, after you attack, is going to take a supporter card from your opponent's hand and discard it. So it's really going to start getting rid of the cards in your opponent's hand, whether it's throwing it back into the deck or whether it's putting it into the discard pile. This is going to be great because it's not going to allow your opponent to enact their strategy. You could potentially be getting rid of cards that could mess you up, whether it's a Sabrina or a Cyrus, or you're getting rid of cards that could potentially really be benefiting your opponent, such as a Pokemon Center Lady or a Lily, something that heals. So you're really messing up your opponent's strategy by just getting rid of cards from their hand, regardless of where you're putting it. So the combination of Dark Pendant and Mega Absol EX is going to be really nice when you're facing your opponent, because they're not going to know how to enact their strategy while they're losing cards. So that's going to be really nice. And Dark Pendant is going to be found in the Wisdom of Sea and Sky Ho-Oh packs. Next, let's talk about just some cards to keep your Mega Absol alive. Like I said, you're not hitting very hard, so the match is going to be dragging on a little bit. Even though Mega Absol is hitting, your Darkrai is hitting for 20 from the bench, you may not be taking out a lot of very powerful Pokemon. So either you can finish off your opponent early on, or if your opponent has some of those beefier Pokemon, the game may be dragging on a little bit. So you want to keep your Mega Absol EX alive. That's going to have your potion and your Pokemon Center Lady there ready for you to heal up. So potion, you're going to heal for 20 HP. And you're going to have 2 of those, so you can heal up for 40 HP if you have both of them in your hand. And then Pokemon Center Lady is going to heal 30 damage from one of your Pokemon and recover it from all special conditions. So if you are lucky enough to have all of those in your hand, the 2 potions and the 1 Pokemon Center Lady, you can potentially heal up for 70 HP on 1 turn. Again, this is just going to increase the survivability of your Mega Absol because you don't want it to go down. If it goes down, you lose the match. So it's going to be important to keep your Mega Absol alive. So Pokemon Center Lady is going to be found in the Shining Revelry packs. Some other cards that I really like in this deck. We're coming down to the last bit of cards in this deck. First, I'm going to talk about Sabrina. Absolutely love Sabrina. Great card. Can really mess your opponent's strategy, whether it's getting a Pokemon out of that active slot that you don't want there, or getting to a Pokemon on the bench. You can see if I had a Sabrina in my hand, which I do, and there's a Magikarp on the bench, I can force that Mantike out of the active slot. Of course, this would be before my opponent evolves. So if my opponent didn't evolve into the Mega Gyarados, I could have potentially utilized Sabrina to get to the Magikarp before my opponent evolves into Mega Gyarados. So that's just something that Sabrina can really do and really benefit you, is get to a basic Pokemon on the bench that's waiting for its evolution, so I can get to a Pokemon and start attacking it either by finishing it off before it evolves or attacking it prior to my opponent getting ahead of me in terms of attacking me first. So that's why I love Sabrina. It can really mess up your opponent's strategy. Sabrina can be found in the Genetic Apex Charizard packs. Next, let's talk about the other supporter card that I have 2 of, and that's going to be Dawn. Dawn can be a really nice card to start the match off with. Of course, it does require you to have really where you want this to enact your strategy is going to be your Absol in the active slot, and then your Darkrai EX on the bench. So you already equipped 1 energy onto your Absol, you equip 1 onto your Darkrai, dealing for 20, then you utilize Dawn, move that energy from your Darkrai to your Absol, and attack. So you can attack for 100 1 turn earlier than you may have been able to if you didn't have Dawn. That's why I like Dawn here. It's nice because, as I mentioned earlier, it's going to really help you enable your strategy, get ahead of your opponent, and that's what this deck is about. It's about getting ahead of your opponent before they can get to their beefy card, like their Mega Gyarados or their Mega Blaziken. So that's also nice. As you can see, it also really helped me avoid my opponent's Sabrina. They brought Darkrai to the active slot. My Mega Absol already had some energy equipped on it. I was able to move that energy onto my Darkrai and avoid that messed up Sabrina that my opponent was able to use and almost mess up my strategy. So Dawn, for those of you who don't know, you move an energy from one of your bench Pokemon to your active Pokemon, and Dawn's going to be found in the Space-Time Smackdown Dialga packs. Last but not least, I do have 1 of each of these. I have 1 red. Red, during this turn, attacks used by your Pokemon do plus 20 damage to your opponent's active Pokemon EX. So I'm going to deal an extra 20 damage to my opponent's active Pokemon EX. So this is going to be nice. Again, I don't deal a lot of damage in this deck. At most, I'm dealing 100 damage, which is okay, but it's not great. The 20 can really help me go from a 3-hit KO to a 2-hit KO in some instances. Sometimes, if I'm lucky enough, maybe I can finish off a weakened Pokemon, a weakened EX Pokemon with it, but a lot of EX Pokemon do have a decent amount of HP. So Red's going to be there just to deal a little bit of damage, and Red can be found in the Shining Revelry packs. And then I have Cyrus. Cyrus can be found in the Space-Time Smackdown Palkia pack. Cyrus, you switch in one of your opponent's bench Pokemon that has damage on it to the active spot. I already mentioned you're not dealing a lot of damage, so it's going to allow your opponent to retreat Pokemon from the active slot to the bench. Cyrus is going to make sure they can't hide on the bench, so I do love Cyrus as a part of this deck. So that's the deck. This is a really fun deck. It's not going to end up being meta just because Mega Absol, you really need to get it going quickly. If you start with Darkrai, you may not be able to get Mega Absol EX going, and then you're really focused on just dealing your damage with your Darkrai EX. Mega Absol is going to be great just to start in that active slot, get it going as quickly as possible, getting rid of those supporter cards, hopefully having that Dark Pendant equipped so you can just get rid of cards from your opponent's hand as early and quickly as possible. So your opponent can't utilize the cards in their hand as much as they want. Maybe they can't evolve because Dark Pendant sent a Pokemon back into the deck. Maybe it got rid of a supporter card that was really going to help out your opponent. So really what's nice is you're going to be getting rid of cards from your opponent's hand, and that's how you're going to end up winning. Might not be meta, but it's going to be fun. You're going to get a lot of wins. I've beaten a lot of great decks, a lot of great cards with this deck. I've gone through Mega Blaziken, I've gone through Mega Gyarados, so this deck is definitely viable. A great deck to use, a really fun deck, especially if you're looking for a good combination with Mega Absol EX. Darkrai is a pretty universal card in terms of dark decks. It is a great card. I recommend grinding for it, not just for this deck, but for really a lot of dark decks. It's a phenomenal card. So let me know in the comments section what you think of this deck. Do you have something similar with your Mega Absol EX and Darkrai EX, or is your deck completely different? What other decks have you built around Mega Absol EX? I'm interested to hear that in the comments section. So I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, feel free to give it a thumbs up, hit that subscribe button for more Pokemon TCG content. Till next time, peace.